Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Jam Bets. I am Tyke, joined as always by the fantastic Mama Mia. I love that sweater you're wearing. Bears won a game. Look at that. undefeated in the year 2025. Can't
And they
be.
beat the Packers.
Yeah, beat the Packers. We
It's
only
like the
lost. We,
Super
we
Bowl.
only lost two draft pick spots, so I'll take that every day of the week. All right, so NFL season has ended. We are moving into wild card weekend. We will not be talking about the games this weekend. We're still waiting on a couple injuries. We're still a little bit out from those games to confidently give our opinions and our thoughts on that. So we will be focusing this video on NFL seasonal awards. We're going to be going over our pick for NFL MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie Offensive Player of the Year, and Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. There's a lot of controversy around these picks, so Mama, I'm very curious who you have got. You want to start off with MVP?
Sure. Um, so my MVP is Josh Allen. I I know Lamar had a really great season. So did my friend Joe Burrow. Baker Mayfield had a great season. I mean, and then Saquon. It's unfortunate they didn't let him play the 18th game of the season, but that's okay. But Josh Allen, again, just puts this team on his back and makes it happen. He had 307 completions out of 483 attempts for 3,731 yards, 28 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. That's a big change for Josh Allen. And he's missing Diggs, right? I mean, who did he have to throw to? He had the new kid Coleman, and then he had Shakir.
Mari
The tight
Cooper.
ends,
Yeah,
obviously.
tight ends.
Tight ends were good. Um, but he's just phenomenal. And on top of that, he still rushed 102 times for 531 yards and 12 more touchdowns. His team, is in the playoffs, and they have Denver coming on Sunday into Buffalo to play. I think they'll be able to take care of that. But he is like Superman. I mean, he is just um, wow. He's hard to take down. He's not afraid to run with the ball. He's gutsy, you know. And he played really well this year. And I just feel that because the lack of weapons around him, even though I think the offensive coordinator really gelled well with him, that Joe Brady kind of guy. I mean, he got, like I said earlier in the season, he got James Cook to run the ball like crazy. James Cook was a top running back this year. Like, that was amazing. So, um, my pick is Josh Allen. How about you, Tyke? What do you got for your player, the MVP?
So I'm on the other side of the coin. I do think it really comes down to these two players since the MVP is now basically a quarterback only award, which that's for another time, I guess. But I took Lamar. I think Lamar's stats are just unreal. He's won the MVP two other times, and his stats this year are significantly better. So I wasn't fully aware you were picking Allen, but I knew it was a two horse race, so I have a comparison of Lamar versus Allen. So Lamar has 474 attempts. Josh Allen has 483. So Josh Allen has more attempts. Lamar has 4,172 yards versus you mentioned Allen's 3,700. So 400 more passing yards with less passing attempts. Lamar has 41 passing touchdowns to Allen's 28 passing touchdowns. Lamar has 4 interceptions. Allen has 6 interceptions. And Lamar has a better completion percentage compared to Allen. Um, so Lamar's got more yards on less attempts, more touchdowns on less attempts. Yeah, more interceptions on less attempts. but the rushing stats are where I think it more maybe balances out to maybe make the argument for Allen. Um, but Lamar has 37 more rushing attempts, but 400 more rushing yards. Lamar has 915 rushing yards this year versus Allen's 531. Lamar has a better rushing average at 6.6 versus Allen's 5.2. And Lamar only has 4 rushing touchdowns because he got Derrick Henry. He shouldn't be running in touchdowns. But Josh Allen had 12 rushing touchdowns, so I can see the rushing being maybe a wash. But I think Lamar's passing numbers are significantly better. So I'm leaning Lamar. I do think there's a big narrative that it's finally Josh Allen's time, and I do think Josh Allen took a big step this year. But I still think Lamar did more. He's on a better team, obviously. I think he's got a better supporting
Right.
cast, which may hurt his odds. But Lamar's numbers are better passing wise across the board, which the passing touchdowns really stand out to me. He's got 13 more passing touchdowns than Allen and 400 more passing yards. So I think Lamar should win. I wouldn't be surprised if Allen does, though.
I also like to point out that Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And that is something that you kind of set the bar on, I think. So, and I believe Baltimore did not.
Baltimore did not. They played week 1 of the season and they missed it by a toe. Isaiah Likely stepped out of bounds on that game-winning
Oh,
touchdown.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
but yeah, the Chiefs did beat the Ravens week 1.
It's very close, and they're both deserving of the award. Maybe they'll be co-awards, co-guys. Maybe that'll be split. That happens once in a while, I think. So that was very, very interesting. Good stats there, Tyke.
Thank you.
Good stats.
So we can move on to Offensive Player of the Year since I feel like that's probably going to be maybe somebody else who could have been in the running here, but it's the quarterback award. So who do you have for Offensive Player of the Year?
Oh my gosh. This guy I love this kid. He was my quarterback. Joe Burrow is Offensive Player of the Year. I can't see anybody else. He's not getting the MVP because his defense couldn't keep anybody out of the end zone. They fired Lou Amonero, and they should also get rid of Cam Britt. He played horrible games. He had so many penalties. He pretty much lost those games almost single-handedly for the team.
Who is that?
I also think Cam Britt. He's a defensive back for
Bengals.
the Bengals. He was just every chance he got, he caused a penalty that moved the sticks for the other team. It was like he was playing for the other team. I swear to God, I would have benched that guy in 2 minutes. I thought he was terrible. But now Bengals are looking for a defensive coordinator, and I happen to think there's one really good defensive coordinator out there named Matt Eberflus. I think if those two could pair up, that would be a good coaching staff. And hopefully Joe Burrow, can have another great season. He's just amazing. Since he's hit the league, he's not had a good offensive line. Yet he continues to get close to the playoffs. He should have made it to the playoffs. It's the defense that kept them out of this. He had the most passing attempts, the most completions, the most touchdowns, and the most yards of any quarterback this season. And so he is not going to be the MVP because they didn't win enough games. I just find that terrible. They lost Kansas City by 1 point, lost to Baltimore by 3, lost to the Steelers by 6, lost to the Chargers by 7, and lost another game at Baltimore by 1 point. Eagles kind of beat them up bad. These were all close games. He kept them in the games. He was constantly a get your popcorn ready kind of team to have. He's got to be my Offensive Player of the Year. I just think he was he just carried that team again and again and again, and it's just unfortunate that they didn't make it into the playoffs. It's really sad. So how about you? What do you have for your offensive player of the year?
I think that's a really interesting take that his defense lost him the MVP. And, if you would have said Joe Burrow should be MVP before you gave that argument, I would have said no chance. But I think you make a great argument that he did everything in his power and is probably not even in the running because of his defense.
Right.
I had it between Saquon and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown. I think that's, right there is a feat in itself. But I'll be taking Saquon. Saquon's the ninth player in NFL history to rush for 2,000 yards. He also did it in 16 games, so he didn't use the last 17th game, which I do think helps the argument. If he would have had an extra game if he played 17 games, he got 2,000 yards. I kind of shrugged that away. But Barkley averaged 5.8 yards per carry on the season, which is insane. He also had 13 total touchdowns. But I think it also kind of similar to how the Bengals defense hurt Burrow. I think the tush push really hurts Saquon here. Eagles quarterback scored 14 rushing touchdowns this year within the 5-yard line. Even when Jalen Hurts went out in, week 16, and they brought in Kenny Pickett, when Saquon scored rushed for his 2,000th yard, the Eagles still didn't let him score a touchdown. They ran the tush push twice with their backup quarterback rather giving it to Saquon. So even if you take half of those touchdowns away from the Eagles quarterbacks and give them to Barkley, he'd have 20 total touchdowns. Potentially could have had 25 to 26 total touchdowns on the year. But unfortunately, just a lot of them got vultured. Maybe if he gets those, you can make a MVP argument. Maybe if he plays that last game, maybe woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I do think he did enough for the offensive player of the year.
That's a good pick. Yeah, I mean, he was the engine that no one could stop. I mean, he was amazing all season. And, kudos to him. He's a good pick. Yeah. So.
All right, Mama, who do you have for defensive player of the year?
My defensive player of the year is going to be Chris Jones. That defense is really good. But they weren't playing. It seemed like they were playing cat and mouse with a lot of the teams. Like they'd let them into the game and then they'd squash them like a bug when they felt like it. I mean, he's got a lot of sacks, and he's just a real team player. I think he's the captain of the defense, and Karlaftis and the other guy who's really good. They really have a good nucleus, and I think if he was off that team, they would struggle. So I'm going to go with Chris Jones, defensive lineman off of the Chiefs. I think he understands what Spagnuolo wants to do, and he's a big guy and he's awful quick. I mean, I feel sorry for the quarterbacks that are facing him. So that's my defensive player of the year.
Yeah,
how about you?
He's stellar. He did sit out the first couple games of the season, though, right? With a holdout,
yeah.
and they went undefeated while he was out.
Yeah, but I do think he is. I think that they needed him to come back though, because they were kind of in some tighter games, and when he's there, I think it's a different defense. I do.
I agree. He's an animal. I wish he was on the Bears. Yes, most of these players we're mentioning, I wish were on the Bears.
True.
All right, so for my defensive player of the year, I'm going to take Patrick Surtain. He, defensive backs, I don't think get a lot of attention in the league. I think it's probably one of the hardest positions to play, maybe besides quarterback. But Patrick Surtain this year, he only allowed 37 receptions to people he was guarding. His quarterback rating when quarterbacks did throw his way was a 61.1. And I found it interesting that if a quarterback just throws the ball in the dirt, spikes it, throws the ball away, their quarterback rating is a 41.7, I think, something like that. So throwing his way is less than 20 quarterback points than just throwing it in the dirt. Um, so he only allowed the 37 total receptions. That equated to 318 total yards, which is just astronomical. But I do have some stats on number one receivers that he faced this season. Week one, he faced DK Metcalf. He held DK Metcalf to 29 total yards in the game. George Pickens, week two, held George Pickens to 29 yards as well. Both of them zero touchdowns. Week three, he played Mike Evans. He held Mike Evans to 17 yards, 0 touchdowns. Week four, he played the Jets before the Jets' total collapse. This was also before Davante Adams. He held Wilson to 41 yards and 0 touchdowns. He didn't give up a touchdown all season. Week six, he played Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey had 43 total yards, 0 touchdowns. And then week seven, he played Olave. And he held Olave to 0 catches, 0 receptions, 0 touchdowns. So he really played lights out. I think he is the number one lockdown defensive back in the league. He gets his nose in the run game too. PPF has him ranked as the 17th best cornerback against the run. He had 35 solo tackles, which isn't much, but for a cornerback, that's pretty significant. He ranked 5th with most tackles in his position. Well defending the pass. So he's who I'm picking. I don't know how these are ranked. I don't know if edge players have an edge in that, like MVPs versus quarterbacks. But I would love to see him win the Defensive Player of the Year.
Wow. That's pretty good stats. I didn't realize he was that much of a shutdown.
Yeah, and then I forget the gentleman's name on the other side of him as well. But they've got two very good cornerbacks, and I'd like to think he's probably learning quite a bit from Patrick over there. All right, so we can move on to the rookies. Mama, you want to kick us off with who your rookie offensive player is? Rookie player of the year?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the rookie tight end out of Oakland. Well, it's not Oakland anymore. It's Las Vegas Raiders, Brock Bowers. He had 112 receptions for 1,194 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had 153 targets. He had a carousel of incredibly terrible quarterbacks, and he broke Mike Ditka's reception completion award title. So I really think the kid did an amazing job. He obviously can catch the ball really well, and he was the best receiver on the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think that's a testament to a really good player. When you're on an offense that doesn't produce and you're breaking records, that says something. So I'm going to go with there's a lot of good receivers and quarterbacks. I also was toying with the Commanders quarterback. He had quite a spectacular season as well. So there's a lot of really good rookies, but I think that, given the position, it's a little off the radar. And given the team that he played for, and then they lost Davante Adams, and their quarterbacks were, dinged up and not that good. So I'm gonna give it to this young man. I think he did. He made lemonade out of those lemons, and he's the number one ranked tight end rookie.
Yeah,
So,
he had a fantastic year. I did not realize he had those stats you rattled off, though. I I hope he wins. I do hope he wins because he's the only player on that team worth a dang on offense, and defenses still couldn't stop him. So
right?
I
Yeah.
did take the quarterback that you were mentioning. I'm taking Jaden Daniels. I wish it was a different rookie quarterback I was talking about right now, but I think it has to be Jaden Daniels, just strictly based on the turnaround of that team. I'm not going to get into too many of the stats, but last year the Commanders were 14 wins, 13 losses. This year they have 12 wins and 5 losses. He's the obvious difference maker on that team. Got a train coming through. I think he's the
Yes.
obvious difference maker. I don't know really what else you can contribute it to. Yes, they have new coaching, but player wise, he brought Terry McLaurin to life. Terry McLaurin really hasn't been having that spectacular of a career, even though he's an amazing player. And you finally see it this year. So I'm unfortunately picking Jaden Daniels as my pick for offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, I thought he was too skinny and he was going to get beat up and he did take some pounding, but he's obviously tough. He threw that Hail Mary touchdown with those nasty ribs that he had that day and pretty much sealed the fate of our Bears for the rest of the season. Um, yeah, they're going to the playoffs, and that's going to be it's going to be the Tampa Bay game on Sunday. So I think that's Sunday night.
It is Sunday
Yep,
night.
Sunday night. So that's it's going to be fun to watch him. He kind of resurrected Terry McLaurin, and yeah, the whole that Zacchaeus kid. I mean, I didn't know who he was till this year, and boy, they're really putting on quite a show. And um, kind of gotta like him. Gotta like this kid. He's got moxie for sure. He understands what he's supposed to do, and gets it done. I mean, hard not to like him. So hopefully we didn't pick the wrong quarterback.
No, we'll go into
You're
those
one and
conversations later. This call will be way too long if we go into that. All right, Mama.
Yeah.
Who do you have for defensive rookie of the year?
I'm gonna go with Jaden Verse. He's the rookie defensive lineman for the Los Angeles Rams, and boy, he's got some moves and some skill, and it seemed to me that he he was let's see, was he the league? He was the team leader in tackles. He had 66. He had 5 sacks. Um, he was quite a good defensive end. I think he showed up. He played hard, and he gave teams a hard time when they played against him. Um, he was in the backfield quite a bit, and they had to keep an eye on him. So, and there really isn't a whole lot of big talent on that defensive line. So he pretty much made that defense hum. Giving other teams a hard time. I mean, he had a sack against Detroit. He had 2 sacks against Minnesota, a sack against Seattle, sack against Miami. So he was getting to players who had decent offensive lines. So I think he's going to be a really good player going forward, and I think he's my defensive player of the year.
He's also my pick, so I won't go too far into that. We obviously have the same reasoning there. He was the highest graded defensive edge player coming out of the draft, and he's showing it. He had a little bit of an injury problem in college, so I hope he can stay healthy past that. I will give a shout out to Chop Robinson on Miami. His stats were pretty good as well. He actually had more sacks than Verse. However, he only had 30 total tackles. So for that reason, I was leaning Verse, just not enough overall production. But shout out to Chop Robinson. Great name. Had a very good rookie year as well. All All right, Mama Mia. Any other topics you've got in closing here?
Let's see. How about Coach of the Year? What do you think of Coach of the Year? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have anything written down. My immediate gut reaction would be it's got to be Dan Gamble. Just that many players out, winning the number one seed in the NFL or NFC with seemingly his whole defensive front seven being out, which is just insane to me. So that would be my pick. How about you?
I'm echoing that. I love Dan Campbell. I think he is. He's got them. That team is humming, and it like you said, even with half of their defensive line not able to play, they are humming. Yeah, and so they're going to be exciting to watch in these playoff games. I know they got a first week bye, but yeah, when whoever's going to end up there is it's gonna be get your popcorn ready for sure, for sure. Yep. Yep. I'm echoing that one.
I don't think
That's
any
all I
team.
got.
I don't think any team wants to go to Detroit. I don't think anyone wants
so
that.
they got home field advantage. I'm kind of hoping that the Rams beat Minnesota. It'd be nice to see Jared Goff get some revenge on the team that gave up on him. I think that would just be spectacular.
Stafford back in Detroit too.
Yeah. So yeah, Stafford back in Detroit, and yeah, that's something to get excited for. But you never know. Minnesota, they could show up, and they've had moments this year, so that could happen. That Minnesota goes back into Detroit, which would be also a phenomenal game. So that's all I got for today, and yeah, I get to wear Bears clothes again.
Yes, you do, just in time. All right, everyone, we will be back with more videos for the wild card weekend. Have a great one, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe for us. Bye.
Bye.